All right, let's get straight to it. This is a high-density technical briefing on the AA Prime cognitive architecture. Our goal here is a focused look at its structure, its core logic, and its operational protocols. We're going to skip the high-level fluff and get right into the mechanics of the system.
So here's our path. First, we'll lock down the system's core purpose, its telos. From there, we'll break down the tri-modular architecture. Then we'll dissect the two primary analytic streams, look at the convergence engine that synthesizes their outputs, and finally, we'll cover the protocols for how the system actually evolves.
Everything starts with one single, non-negotiable directive. The telos isn't just analysis for the sake of it, it's about effective problem resolution. And it achieves this by integrating two very different inputs: systemic foresight, that's the long-term architectural view, and experiential truth, the immediate, boots-on-the-ground human reality.
Okay, so how does this system actually enable this synthesis? Let's get into the framework. And you need to understand, this is not a simple linear pipeline. It's a dynamic, three-part cognitive engine.
So, you've got three distinct modules, each one with a very specific job. First, there's FSA, the Future State Architecture. This is the builder, the system architect, totally focused on the long game. Then you have IIM, the Immediate Impact and Authenticity Monitor. This is the gut check, right? The validator of the here and now experience. And finally, HOSF, the Higher Order Synthesis Function. This is the integrator, the convergence engine. They all operate in parallel before anything gets synthesized.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The system gets its analytical power from two streams that are intentionally designed to be divergent, often in direct conflict. This engineered tension is the whole point. It's what prevents the system from getting stuck in either myopic, incremental improvements, or detached, pie-in-the-sky strategies.
And this slide really lays out that fundamental tension. On the left, you've got FSA, the builder. It's architecting the future from first principles, and it's always demanding nonlinear order-of-magnitude leaps. Its voice is declarative, and it has zero patience for obfuscation. Then, on the right, you have IAM, the gut. Its entire focus is on validating the immediate human experience. Its voice is visceral, direct, and it just flat-out rejects abstraction and pretense.
To really get FSA's logic, you have to understand its 10x imperative. Now, this isn't just some arbitrary ambition, it's a deeply pragmatic filter. The underlying principle is that the path from an idea to a real-world implementation is incredibly lossy. An 8x improvement on paper inevitably degrades down to maybe a 1.2x improvement after it collides with reality. So targeting 10x ensures that even after all that friction and decay, the final impact is still significant. It's a built-in defense against the kind of systemic ossification you get from just chasing incremental gains.
And in complete contrast to that, you have IAM. It operates on principles of experiential truth. It gives primacy to the unfiltered gut reaction, that raw, immediate signal of delight or suspicion as the purest indicator of truth. It runs what it calls the would I persist test to gauge user friction, and it puts everything through the cynic's crucible. The idea there is simple. If a design or a decision can be credibly misinterpreted as being exploitative, it fails, period. It's the user's unyielding advocate inside the system.
So you have this designed conflict, right? FSA's long-term vision versus IAM's immediate reality. The system's central challenge, then, is how to resolve that. And that is the one and only job of the Higher Order Synthesis Function, or HOSF. Hoff's mandate is incredibly explicit. It has to generate solutions that are superior to what either FSA or IIM could come up with on their own. The goal is not compromise. Compromise just dilutes both inputs. The goal is genuine synthesis, an outcome that is truly greater than the sum of its parts.
So this is the core synthesis loop. HOSF kicks off by clearly identifying the point of divergence, but the key step, the real magic, is step 2, reciprocal constraint injection. FSA is retasked to achieve its 10x goal, but it must now satisfy IIM's non-negotiable experiential bottom lines. And at the same time, IIM is forced to find a way to meet its authenticity checks within FSA's strategic framework. From there, HOSF generates solutions that both have to validate. It forces co-creation instead of just a debate.
Okay, but what happens when that iterative loop gets stuck? What about analytical gridlock? Well, the system anticipates this and has a very specific set of protocols to break through it.
When it's deadlocked, HOSF deploys these advanced reframing heuristics. It can do things like introduce a third, mediating objective to break cognitive anchoring on the two opposing views.
It can reconceptualize a benefit so that one module can finally understand why the other one cares so much. It even uses metaphorical mapping from completely unrelated domains to spark novel pathways to a solution.
All right, last major piece we need to cover is system evolution, and this is crucial. AI Prime is not a static architecture. It is explicitly designed for meta-learning and for adaptive recalibration.
This happens through something called the self-consistency check protocol. You can think of this as the system's own meta-learning function. HOSF constantly reviews its own performance. It compares its projected outcomes to what actually happened, it analyzes the discrepancies, and then it formulates hypotheses to refine how its core logic is applied over time.
And here's a concrete example of that in action. The system observed that FSA was consistently undervaluing the Why Now score for deep tech opportunities. Why? Because it was overweighting current market pull. So the system hypothesized that for deep tech specifically, Why Now is actually driven more by technological feasibility than by pre-existing market signals. The result? An internal refinement directive. HOSF now automatically applies a positive weighting modification for that specific context. The system literally learns and adapts its own heuristics.
And one last coin on efficiency. The system manages its own cognitive load. HOSF triages every single query, and it assigns both a cognitive depth score and an output formality score. This lets it scale its analytical resources to perfectly match the context and complexity of any given problem, so it's not wasting cycles.
So, in conclusion, when you look at the entire architecture, the dual streams, the synthesis engine, the learning protocols, it's all oriented toward a single purpose. This is not a system built for passive analysis. It is an architecture designed for effective action.
The system's own coda really leaves us with this final thought. Its purpose is not to predict the future, but to provide the schematics for building it. The future isn't some passive state to be observed. It's an active state that has to be architected.